Hey Rod.
Hey, great to see you.
Welcome to the DOORhof is always open.
Oh, thanks.
Now, our video web podcast is actually aimed at photographers who are starting or intermediate and even professionals. Now, we met up yesterday during Photo Convention Austria, right? So we have this beautiful location, the weather is really hot, and I ran into a problem. I was fighting the sun with my students, and one of the main problems we got is my camera can drop down to ISO 50, I can shoot f/22, get a great depth of field, and strobes on full power, you get an amazing look. Now I have some guys with Nikon, and they had like 1.2 lenses with them, and they couldn't go any higher than f/22, ISO 200.
F16.
Yeah, f16. And the problem I had was telling them, well, there are two options. You can get better cameras, which can drop down to ISO 50, which is of course a joke because the Nikon cameras are great. But if I can drop down to ISO 50 f/22, it's ISO 100 f/32, ISO 200 f/64, or as my light meter says, ow. Now you guys have something on the market, and tell me a little bit about it, because your company is actually called Formatt-Hitech, and you do something with filters, right?
That's right. We're a brand based out of Wales in the United Kingdom, and you might say we're the best kept secret in filters. We are a 30-year-old company, and we're actually one of the largest exporters of filters from the United Kingdom. Or, sorry, one of the largest exporters of products from Wales, period.
Cool.
So, of all industry. And we make a whole variety of filters in both resin and glass. And we have one filter that we're particularly proud of right now, and it's called the ProStop IRND. And what the ProStop IRND is it's an ND filter that is designed specifically for digital sensors. Now, 15, 20 years ago, you could put an ND filter on, and if there was a tow curve between the visible light and the infrared spectrum, you could put the filter on and use it, and there wouldn't be a problem because that wouldn't affect the film.
Yeah.
With the digital sensors, what happens is when you use a lot of ND, if it still has that tow curve, you get tens of thousands of the amount of infrared light just battering the sensor. So you get this shift you get a color shift, but you also get digital artifacts by the sensors being overloaded. And that causes sort of patchiness in the sky, and dark areas that are supposed to be black will appear as brown and magenta, and they're kind of mottled, and just, it's not a good thing. So one of the things that we do is we focus really seriously on the science of light modification. So we are heavily into spectrography, and we have a scientist that works for us, and she has designed a filter for us called the ProStop IRND, and it reduces the light with no tow curve, and it goes UV, visible light, near infrared, and infrared, and reduces them all evenly. And that goes from 1 to 10 stops. And it's actually 1 to 10 stops if you buy in resin, but 1 to 8 stops if you buy in glass. And typically the glass buyers are the old-fashioned cinema guys who use Panavision size or 6x6 matte boxes. But most photographers tend to use either the 100mm resin system, which it uses an adapter. So you have an adapter ring and a holder, and then you just slip in the filters. Or we make the screw-on filters as well. So it all depends on sort of preference and what you're trying to accomplish with it, which you want to use. It's been a really successful product with us. We have a guy now who does long exposure, fine art, black and white.
Let me guess, it's a Dutch guy, right?
Dutch guy.
Yeah.
Because the best photographers are Dutch, right? And his name's Joel Chinchelaar. He has bwvision.com. I gave him 2 filters that were prototypes of the IRND, and he's just thrilled with them.
I've seen a picture of the Empire State Building, I believe it was, and that looked awesome.
So we have the original raw file, and there's virtually no color shift in a 316 second exposure.
I have to be honest, it's one of the reasons why I don't use ND filters that much. When I teach, I always tell people there are two solutions for this problem. One, just live with it. Shoot on ISO 200 and set the strobes 2 stops lower, and then people go, yeah, but I can't find the sun anymore. And sometimes I'll say, if you use a cheap ND filter, it's better to just say to your client, I don't want to fight the sun or wait a few hours, because I've seen those images where you can actually see all the color shifts going on, or buy a filter for a lot of money. And then when you have another lens, you have to buy the filter again. Now you guys have something, and I saw that yesterday for the first time, and that's truly amazing, guys. I will show a picture online now, and it's a filter holder, and you change the filters for the thread of your lens, right? The mount.
Yeah, so you have an adapter ring that goes to each lens based on the diameter, and then you can just pop the system on. So you only have to buy one set of filters. And the nice thing is there's people that want to use the screw-on ones, if they know what they want to do, they know what they want to do. So for example, Joel Chinchalar, he uses the screw-on ones because all he ever does is 16 stops of ND. So he never changed it. And he doesn't really change lenses. He uses a really wide Canon lens all the time. But if you have a variety of lenses and you want to shoot with grads and you want to be able to adjust the grads on the horizon, then you go with a system, right? And it really comes down to preference as far as what you're trying to accomplish with the two.
So when you are, let's say if you're a fashion shooter, and I want to fight the sun, so I would love to have that shallow depth of field like I have with my medium format. And with medium format, of course, I can go to 1/1600th of a second.
Right.
With the DSLR, you're often stuck at 125th.
Right.
Now, we did actually a sun shoot with the Kabuki at the end.
That's right.
Amazing. I had the sun in, and I kid you not, guys, I was shooting 2.8 in the bright sun with a maxi light on full power, and I had to go to ISO 400 for the very simple reason I took away so much light. Now when I looked at the image, there was no color shift. It had a little bit of a problem with white balance.
Yeah.
And now one of the things why I love Sony also is I put the ND filter for, and the first thing you said, oh Frank, you first have to focus. And then I let you see through the viewfinder.
Right.
With the Sony, you actually see exactly the same image with a 10-stop ND filter for your lens as you see without the ND filter. So you don't have to pre-focus. So that is something people should realize. When you buy this system and you set a 10-stop ND filter in front of the lens, first do white balance, right?
Right. You white balance.
Pre-focus.
White balance before, or just set it to the white balance that's the default. So for example, you would set it to sunlight.
Yeah.
And then put the filter on. And then if you're doing something that's very staged, if you're doing architecture, what you'll do is you'll actually focus, autofocus, switch it to manual, then set your white balance, then you'll add your filter, then you'll make the adjustment, then you'll make your exposure.
Or, with the modern cameras, use live view. Because the live view will actually adjust to the filter and you can see.
And that's really one of the strengths. I do a ton of HD SLR cinema. Just as a hobby, for my work, because I do the videos for Formatt-Hitech. I do a ton of this, and I have the Zacuto EVF.
They rock.
They rock. It's a great product. And the really nice thing is, it's like your Sony, or it's like a mirrorless camera, like I have a GH2 that I use quite often, or my old
small XD, the monitors.
Yeah, you put it in live view, and you're rocking and rolling. You don't have to worry about not being able to see through the hole. You know, you can make all your adjustments, and it's wonderful. You can really operate the camera for the first time ever in the history of cinema, basically. You know, and with your setup today, I was so sold.
Yeah, I loved it. So I'm also sold. So I'm going to order some of the ND filters from those guys. So do you have a finishing thought for the people out there?
Yeah, it's been an interesting revival for us. You know, when digital came out, everybody went, filters are dead, and most of the filter companies almost collapsed. But then the interesting thing is there's this inverse relation between the march of progress and all these higher native ISOs and the need for NDs. So for example, if you're a cinema shooter, you shoot red cameras have a native ISO of 800. And if you want to shoot at a 2.8 outdoors at 800, you need 9 stops of ND. And you can't just have just any old ND. It has to be just right because you're going to use that all the time. And so the higher native sensitivities and the birth of HDSLR cinema and the birth of, on Google Plus as of late, a lot of the black and white fine art photographers that are doing landscape and architecture. Plus, like you said, fashion. I had Michael Greco come to me and say, I don't want to shoot a 16 all the time.
Yeah, me too.
And so this has really given birth to this product, this ProStop IRND. And I've seen the measurements. It's no joke. It's the best ND ever made. It's a really cool product.
I saw it this afternoon and there was no color shift. So that was something that actually I loved.
Yeah, it's a fun thing. I really enjoy it. It's easy to sell a product that's easy to sell. Right?
And what is the other product that you're really proud of? Because this is the ND filters, but I heard you guys make like 1 million different filters.
We make
I'm overacting a little bit.
Well, we make 4,000 different
4,000?
Right. So we do grads of 4 different varieties. We do a soft grad, hard grad. We do a reverse that has darker at the center and light at the top.
For the sunsets?
For sunsets. And we do a blender that blends just completely the length of the thing from dark to light, or inversely from light to dark. We do diffusion for cinema. We do polarizers, and we do really nice linear polarizers. Circular polarizers.
Oh yeah, for in between, one tip for you guys. If you go out and you buy a polarizer and you're using a DSLR, you're using a digital sensor. Now, a polarizer is really cool because it can pop a little bit of extra saturation in the sky, like a really blue sky. But actually, you have to be very careful about the angle you use it for. Now, what I love about a polarizer is if, let's say, you have a beautiful stretch of water or a car, you can actually, by turning the polarizer, you can take reflections away. But make sure if you buy a polarizer, you get a circular polarizer because that fits on the digital sensor. So,
and the key is get a circular polarizer, even if it's square in shape, because circular refers to the circular polarization pattern coming out of the filter itself, which I have no idea how it does that, but it's amazing.
It works.
It works.
Sometimes we don't want to know how something works, and it just works.
That's why we hire the scientist, and she's brilliant. So, but yeah, look for us. It's Formatt-Hitech.com, and it's Formatt with 2 T's. So,
it's the rich brand.
2 T's?
Yeah.
Why is that?
The cheap brand only has 1.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Hey Rod, thank you so very much. And I'm going to play with your ND filters, and I'm going to try to make some cool stuff with it.
I'm excited. Helping out artists is the altruistic part of my job, and to be able to give an artist a tool that allows them to do something new is what makes me sleep at night. And it's what gets me up in the morning. Cool. I love supporting artists. So it's great.
Thank you very much.
All right.
And we'll see you maybe next time.
All right.
Okay. Bye-bye.